Okay, we got a 2014 Outback. Let's see what the mileage is. 96,822. Customer states oil light is on. Oil light's not on right now. Got an oil change that's due at 99,319. So they're halfway through their oil service. What the hell are my brakes doing? I step on the brakes and they're flashing. That's bizarre. LEDs. Got it. Thank you. It's got LED control modules in there. Wow. Half the oil. 3,000 miles in, they're already down half a quart. Starting to see some minor head gasket seepage. A lot of valve cover dripping. Okay, a lot of dripping right there too. You can always tell an oil leak location by looking at the cleanest spot. You see how we all have all this right here, and it's nice and cluttered up right here, so someone who's diagnosing oil leaks would go, this has got to be it, because that's where the most is. And you got to go backwards with an oil leak. If you got a if you have an oil leak that's just constantly seeping and constantly dripping, it's actually going to be washing the area away. So you see this nice clean spot right here. This is the leaky spot. And then over here, this is just all the drafted air. So these valve covers at least need to be replaced. Okay, now we're back in the cabin. Let's go over a couple of things I want to talk about. First off is this oil light. This oil light is turned on by the oil pressure switch. The oil pressure switch is just a switch that provides a ground to the circuit to turn this light on. So if the switch is if the oil pressure switch is activated, meaning there's no oil pressure, like right now, there's no oil pressure. So there's a ground being provided to that light, and when I turn the vehicle on, the oil pressure will push open the switch and it'll take away the ground from that light and turn that light off. That's what turns that light on. The other thing that affects oil but does not affect that light, okay, we're going to go on a little soft tangent here, the oil level switch. Now that is in the oil pan extension housing, aka upper oil pan. And that is ECM driven, so that's why I'm using a laptop. Pressure switch goes to the gauge cluster. Oil level switch goes to the engine computer, and you need to use a scan tool to see it. So now we're going to turn the car on. Alright, pressure is provided, the switch opens up, ground goes away, the light goes off. Okay, oil levels high, reading good. Key engine off, key on condition, Yes, yes, yes. No, I don't want. Oh, I hate you. Okay, now we're running. All right, so it's reporting good oil pressure or good oil level. It's recording good oil level. I'm gonna give it some RPM. There, look at that. Oil level low. Okay, that's happening because the oil pump is sucking up all the oil out of the pan. Okay, now the oil retreats to the pan because I'm not demanding so much oil. So you can see how being a half a quart to 3/4 of a quart low can trigger these. But what happens if we keep this up? If we run out of oil, we run out of pressure. Okay, it's just like gas in the gas tank. You run out of gas, you can't accelerate it anymore. So at low pressure, that light comes on. So don't get these two things confused. So what are we going to recommend to the customer? We're going to recommend to fix their oil leak.
To summarize what we talked about, using the engine electrical system wiring diagram, here is the oil pressure switch. This is the light on the gauge cluster. And over here is our low engine oil warning light. Now, in the beginning, I told you that the oil pressure switch here was ground controlled. We have the power up here. Let's go ahead and highlight that right now. Right now, if you just powered on the vehicle and the engine was not on, we call this a key on engine off condition. This switch will close. Okay, so this little thing right here will go that way and it'll complete our circuit right here, giving the ground to make this light bulb turn on. That's why you see the oil warning light on when you're in a key on engine off condition. Now we're going to talk about your low engine oil warning light. That also has a ground. It's right here, but it's driven by a computer that sits inside of the gauge cluster. Trace our lines so you can see it. There's the power. And right here is the ground. Again, controlled by a circuit. That circuit is commanded by the gauge cluster, and the gauge cluster gets its signals from these CAN communication wires right here. And as you can see, here is the engine control module, CAN communication wires here. So when the engine oil level dips low, the ECM sends the signal to the computer to come over here and allow the ground to turn this light on. So this light has power at all times. It's just waiting for a ground to satisfy the circuit. That's it.